You're listening to the Money Dad Podcast, practical financial and business conversation from a dad who knows money. I'm April Adams, and please welcome my dad, the Money Dad, Robert Adams. So, let's say I followed some not so great advice, and I never acquired any credit. But now, there's a big purchase I want to make that really requires me to have credit. And it's not a bad purchase, it's a necessary purchase. But what do I do now that I am starting out? I've been, as Zach said, a ghost in the credit system. How do I become a real girl?
Well, before we get into that, April, if you don't have any credit, you're not going to get what you want to buy. You have to have credit established.
Oh, wow.
If not, you will have to depend on somebody else. And, at 41 years old, you just need to remember what I told you about 20 years ago. It's not but 4 little syllables. Yo, yo. You own your own. Y'all remember that now. You can tell your kid that when they get out of college. Excuse me. You should tell your kid that when they get out of college. Yo, yo, you own your own.
I wouldn't have a house without my wife's credit score.
That's a bad position there, Zach.
I'm grateful for her. I had no credit.
You fell in love that day, didn't you? Before we get into...
She's just been dragging you through.
Before we get into starting credit, I spoke in another episode about the $37 a month minimum payment. Don't fall into certain traps before we get into the credit thing, because we're going to talk about cars and stuff. Okay, so you go into the car dealership, no credit, bad credit, we're going to put you in this car for $300 a month. And everybody's like, yes, I want to go get a car for $300 a month. Now, there's 2 situations here. If you don't have a car, and you need a car to get to work, and you have no credit, or you have bad credit, and they're going to sell you a car for $300 a month, then unlike some other financial advisors, they may tell you that you shouldn't do that. Well, phase 1 is, if you fall into that category I just told you, go get your $300 a month car, because you don't have a way to work. And that's all you can afford. But back when we was talking about credit cards, even though $37 a month on $3,757 would take you 41 years, you're not planning on being in that same situation for 41 years. So you have to go ahead and take things sometimes at whatever the minimum payment is. But if you're one of these people that buys things on emotions, oh, I can go buy this because it's only so much a month, or I can buy this because it's only so much a month, each time you do that, it's ching, ching, ching on what the total cost is, and you don't even know where you are, because all you look is that monthly payment. You don't look at the real cost of that item. The real cost of that item is what it cost. That is the value that they are charging you for that. And then when they put the interest on it, it happens to come out to a certain amount. But just be very careful there that if you don't have a vehicle, you need to get in a vehicle, they want to give you one, then go for it. But don't sit there and try to say, I'm going to pay on this for the next 72 months. That's something I never thought I would believe, April. Used to be car loans were 36 months, 48 months. Now I've seen car loans for 72 months. Drives me crazy.
Does the car even last that long?
Sometimes it doesn't. And that's the thing that you have to be careful of. Remember, if you bind a car based on monthly payment, you could be making a mistake, unless it's something you absolutely need and you work your way out of it later. But if it's something that you want and you're going to have to pay on it for 6 years, you may want to reconsider what you're buying. But with all that being said, there's some things you can't buy with no credit or bad credit, and that's a house.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot buy one with no credit unless you got enough cash in the bank that you can go write a check and take care of it. Zach made a comment earlier that he had no credit, so he had to lean on his wife. But they're a good partnership, April, because he had the cash to help pay for it.
Yeah.
So therefore, they worked together. Her credit got the house, and his cash helped pay for it. So
Zach's not just a bum.
I'm more than a bum.
Well, if you don't have any credit at all, and I guess some people's going to maybe throw darts at me, but we're making this a practical podcast, is one thing you need to do is go get one of those bad word things, and that's a credit card.
Mm-hmm.
You need to see if you can establish credit. That's one of the ways to establish credit is with a credit card. Now, some people can't automatically go out and get a unsecured credit card.
What's an unsecured credit card?
Unsecured credit card means that there is nothing being leaned against it. In other words, you can go out there and spend it, and nobody can come get anything. They can't get your house. They can't get your goods because you've already used them or done something with them. But a secured credit card is just like if you buy a house, you have to secure the loan with your house. So how a secured credit card works, you maybe go out and deposit $200 or $300, and that becomes your credit limit. But if you can get an unsecured credit card, then guess what? You don't have to put up $200 or $300 to get that. Now, when you get a credit card, then make sure that the credit card can report to all three of the bureaus. And as we talk about no credit, bad credit, a lot of this is really about the same. It's just a couple of things that stick out. So your top three credit card people are Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. So you want to make sure that these things, report to those credit agencies, because that's who keeps up with all your stuff and helps determine what your credit score is. Now, once you have got this established, and I want to interject this too, Zach reminded me of it earlier, is if you're an alcoholic or have been an alcoholic and you're recovering, you don't want to be around alcohol because it's so tempting. Sometimes people have no control over credit cards. And if you're one of those people that has no control over credit cards, then you're going to put yourself back into spiraling debt if you can't control it. So it may be that you may have to find another way to be able to take care of your expenses, because if you're one of those people that just keep spending and using it because it's convenient, you'll never get out of the hole.
You're going to have to find a spouse with good credit.
Absolutely. The other thing that I've learned from some banker friends is whenever you go get that credit card, you want to make sure you do not use up all of that credit. For example, if you have a $1,000 credit limit on a credit card, or starting out, it may be only $500.
That was my first credit card, but I got a credit card before I got a driver's license, so...
Well, we started you early, April.
Yeah, so I could establish credit.
So you could establish credit, exactly. So some of you parents out there listening, you don't have to give your kid money, but you can help them get their credit established, because later on, when you give them that yo-yo comment, you're on your own, you want to make sure they have the ability to go purchase the things that they need.
Mm-hmm.
So to use this credit card, you only want to put a couple things on it. Let's start out with, how about gas?
Yep.
You don't want to put too much on it. And here's the thing. Keep the balance under 30% of your credit. For example, if you got a $500 limit, math is easy. 30% of 500 is 150. Don't charge 150, charge 148. Or try to keep it down to 20%. That's the first thing you want to do. If you have a credit card for $500 and you max it out, you will not help your credit. You will destroy your credit.
Yeah. They don't like it when you spend all of it.
No, and that's something you really are going to have to pay attention to. One of my banker friends said 10% is ideal, but hey, again, you're trying to establish, trying to get started. But when I said 30%, don't go spend 150. I said less than 30%. So make sure you don't hurt yourself there. The other thing that you have to do is you have to make sure that you pay this bill on time within the grace period. But the main thing is make sure you pay it on time. So you want to make sure that you have this payment drafted out of your account, or either set it up through your online banking to make sure that it's paid by a certain day. But you never, ever want to be late on it. April, I'm about to tell you a story I don't think I've ever told you before.
Oh, no.
When you make these payments, and it may come up and you spent, I think in another episode, $3,757.24 or $34.22. When you key in that amount that you want to pay and it's for $34.22, make sure you don't pay in $34.21. Because now...
Did you do that?
No, I did not do that, but I'm about to share with you what happened. When you do that, you just become late.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was a time that one of my business partners, we wanted to build a building, and we wanted this property, and we were moving really fast on the property. So I went to the bank to tell them I wanted to go ahead and get a line of credit so I could go get this property until we could convert it into a loan.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually, in the old days, accomplished this in 4 business days. Can y'all believe that out there? 4 business days, we come up with about a $300,000 loan. Then he said, Robert, there's a problem. I said, what? He said, your credit's not but 600 and something. I said, what? You got to be kidding me. So he looked up on the bureau and showed it to me. I had bought a car through a credit union one time. And I would always go make my payment, and the teller one day missed my payment by 1 penny.
Oh.
I had been late every month for 3 years.
No.
Yeah, that's what I said, no. But he understood that.
Uh-huh.
And he actually helped me get it cleaned up. So when you make a payment or you key it in, make sure that you're not 1 penny off.
See, you're going to send me into a little rant because these credit unions make these mistakes. Because I had an incident not exactly like that, but I had a car loan and they were sending me my bills through the mail and I was paying on time and sometimes even paying more because I wanted to get that car paid off quickly, but we took out this loan to help build more of my credit. Well, I was getting the mail, so I didn't look at the address they were sending it to. They apparently had the wrong, it was a little typo in the address, but not like a very glaring typo. And then I quit getting my bills, and I think I either missed a payment or I had to call and say, where's my bill? And then they charged me $10 for having the wrong address on file that they put in wrong. So that's a similar story. The teller there put your payments off 1 penny. Well, they messed up my address, and I had to pay them for their mistake. So, yes, you had to look out for other people's mistakes, too, whenever you have these things going on.
The thing that I should have also done was look on my receipt and make sure that the payment was right.
And you're not even going to think about that when it's 1 cent off. Just
Amen.
like you don't think to look at your own address whenever you are receiving mail.
Amen.
To make sure that the address for the mail that you received at your address is correct.
I agree. Sounds like that kind of ticked you off,
That
didn't it?
that really did. It sent me. I don't like having to pay for other
It ticked
people's...
me off to have
I
a
don't-
600 and something score
I don't
trying
like
to borrow some
paying
money
for other
to go
people's
get a
mistakes.
piece of property too. All right, one other thing. If you can't come up with a couple $100 to secure your credit card and you can't get an unsecured credit card, then go back to mama, daddy, brother, sister, and beg.
Or your wife.
Or your wife, and you have to really beg then, to not let you use their credit card, but to add you to their credit card. But if they're going to add you to their credit card, make sure they pay it on time and that they're never late, because it's sort of that little add-on feature. The one that I've helped people with a lot, even on the rebuilding the credit, but also to establish the credit, is to go to a real, true financial institution. Don't go to the loan companies, because that will hurt your credit.
Yeah, if it says title loan or cash advance, any
All
of those.
the above. Because what will happen is it shows the credit bureau that you don't have the ability to go to the bank and borrow the money, because there's no true bank on there. So how do you go to the bank to borrow money when you don't have any credit? And sometimes you might need the help of a parent or something to go up there with you, but I've helped some individuals in my church go to the bank with them and tell them, hey, I want to get a loan for $1,200. Or this person I'm with wants to get a loan for $1,200. Well, you don't have any credit. I can't give you the loan. No, but I want you to take that $1,200 and put it in a CD or put it in a savings account, and I want to borrow against that $1,200. Then the bank has nothing to lose.
So the person that you're taking them down there, and they're bringing cash.
No,
no,
they're bringing nothing.
They're bringing nothing.
They want a loan. They want to borrow the money, but the bank says, well, you don't have any credit. No, but I want you to take the money I want to borrow, and instead of taking the money home with you, you put it right back in the bank in a savings account or CD. So now the bank has the money you just borrowed as collateral against a loan. So the bank now is not going to lose any money. The reason I went with these people, sometimes people get scared to talk to bankers, but you want to make sure too you're not paying the normal interest rate on an unsecured loan, because this loan is secured. So what you want to do is try to negotiate with your bank that if they only going to pay you 2% over here, then they really shouldn't charge you more than 5% over here. So if you borrow $1,200 at 5% and you can make that payment every month, then it's only going to cost you $60 to establish some credit at the most. I'm just rounding it off. I'm not getting down to the gnat's rear end, but it'll cost you about $60 to get your credit established. Now, here's the cool thing about that. Whenever you finish paying it off, now you got $1,200 over there that you just saved up that has accumulated. So that is another way to establish some credibility with a bank. And at that point, you don't want to keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. Utilize the credit card, be able to pay it off, don't be late, make sure you make the right payment. Then with this other loan, have it drafted out of your bank account. Just make sure that you got the money in there so that when it drafts, and if you do, then you won't be a penny off because they'll establish the right payment whenever they set it up.
Maybe they will.
One thing that was interesting, I did find out from my banker friend, the paying on time. And remember, that one penny made it show that I was late for 36 months. Paying on time is 35% of your credit score. So anything you can do to make sure that payment's on time, you definitely want to do that. And then we talked about the credit utilization, to try to keep, your minimum down less than 30%. Well, I learned that 30% of that is 30% of your credit score. So just those two things alone are about 65% of your whole credit score. And then, you can have your free monitoring sources. You want to make sure that whatever you use to check your credit score is not going to be a hit on your credit, like when some bank's looking it up if you want to buy a car or buy a house.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of them, they don't anymore. Like, mine is attached to my credit card. And so when I'm logged into my credit card account, I can then go in and check my score, and it says up at the top that it does not affect your credit score when you check it. In fact, I'm constantly getting updates on my score.
Well, that is one of the other main things. We come up with 65% of it. The number of hits will decrease your credit score if you go to a place that doesn't do it without it counting as a hit.
Yeah, so like car loans and things like that will do that. If you take out another credit card, so that can be where it'll ding you for a little bit, but if you make those credit card payments on time, then it actually helps you in the long run, correct?
Absolutely. So on that side, get a credit card. Don't use over 29.999% of it. Make sure you pay it off on time. Make sure that you make the payment on time. Make sure the payment is the right payment.
And I will say to that, if you do have to take out a chunk of money, like put a larger amount than you usually do on your credit card, you can pay that off early, and then it won't affect your score either.
Oh, absolutely.
If you do that earlier before the scores click back over, then that won't affect you.
Yeah. But when you're establishing on that first time around, you don't want to pay that $1,200 off in 2 months. You want it to go a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just talking about credit cards.
Oh yeah, credit card. You don't want to go past that grace period. You want to pay it off at the end of the month. So what can happen here is, 1 to 2 months, you'll probably get your first credit score. 4 to 6, you can qualify maybe for an unsecured credit card if you can't get one already. 6 to 12 months, then you can qualify for better cards, better loans, lower interest rates, and 12 months you'll probably have a 700 credit score if you do it right. And then the rebuilding credit is very similar, and I'll throw some different things in that, where you check all your credit reports. Check all the three we mentioned, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, and what you want to look for is you want to look for late payments, you want to look for charge-offs, collections, incorrect balances. I never looked at my credit score. And sometimes, believe it or not, there are accounts out on your credit that's not even yours. because somebody typed in the wrong address and the wrong loan number and assigned it to you instead of it being your loan. So in today's world, you cannot depend on anybody but you to make sure that everything's right on whoever you're doing business with. Because some people don't have the same care that they used to have back when I was younger. When you see things, dispute the errors. If you still have things that you owe, try to negotiate them down, try to pay them off. And then sometimes, ask your lenders just to give you some goodwill adjustments if something just needs to be removed to get it off. One of the things you want to look for too on credit cards, and I forgot to throw that in there, was look for credit cards with no annual fee.
Yeah.
There's all kind of credit cards out there, and some of them will charge you an annual fee. You can still do the same thing to reestablish credit that I told you on establishing credit. You can do the same thing with the what they call credit builder loan, where you go to the bank, borrow your own money, and then, but do not get over two things that you can handle, because you're also trying to get out of that spiraling debt. You're also trying to stay on a budget, but you're also trying to get ahead in life. So all of this takes a lot of balance. To some of you, it may seem overwhelming, but it's really not. Break it down in the little pieces. In the construction world that I participate in, right now, when I had to go, right now ain't got nothing to do with it, but when I was talking to my bonding company about a $10 million job, they said, well, is it from scratch? I said, no, man, don't look at it that way. It's renovation, but it's 4 different buildings. So it's not one $10 million job. It's 4 $2.5 million jobs. So, break things down, look at it in small bites instead of, great big things. If you got some old accounts, but you don't have any balances on them, don't have too many of them, but don't close them all. Try to keep them open, because it's shown that you've had credit and you haven't used 29.99% of it. You ain't used any of it. So it won't hurt you to do that. And then again, pay everything on time. And we talked about avoiding those hard pulls, I call it, when they're trying to calculate, your FICO score. Hey, another thing, too many applications might slow down your credit rebuild, so that's why I was only giving you 2 things. You don't have to focus on 5, just focus on 2, and that will allow you to get a little small bump, after about 12 to 24 months, you should be back to where you need to be. And people, I need to be back sooner. One thing I told my son when he was playing football, I said, Michael, if your coach comes in there talking about we're going to win the state championship, we're going to win all this, I said, listen to it and understand that that is your target. But then once you understand that's your target, don't even think about it. Look up and see where it's at. But what you need to do is concentrate on the process that it takes to make you the best player you can be to contribute to your team, because you can't do anything more than that. So if you concentrate on the process and you work hard on the process, then once you get there, you can turn around and look back and see where you came from. So setting goals are important, and you need to know where those goals are. But if you keep looking at the goal and you don't concentrate on the process, you'll never get there. So stay true to your process. Stay true to what you're doing. Take a deep breath. It'll all come together. But if you don't start, you'll never get there.
Thanks for listening to the Money Dad Podcast. Head on over to our website, themoneydadpodcast.com, for more resources and to send in any questions that you might have. Do your homework, and we'll see you next time.